in this short clip, I'm going to talk a little bit about my approach to Parsvarthakasana side crow. I don't think we need to put different variations on a hierarchy because there's enough of that out there. I'm not going to say one version is better than the other. I'm just using this clip to explain my approach and why I encourage to try the hand balance in this way. There's often, from what I've seen, two approaches to side crow. There's the variation where your body is resting across both of the upper arms, and then there's a variation where you're resting on just one upper arm. I prefer the use of one upper arm, and I'll talk a little bit more about why I prefer that. But that's the approach I'm going to demonstrate and show you. Again, I'm going to talk about why I value that approach. So first, I just like to talk about sustainability in your yoga practice. Ideally, you can do this stuff for a long, long time. So the one elbow approach, or the one upper arm approach, helps you stay long in your spine, and it also helps you keep the shoulder in a really happy, stable position. So I'm going to demonstrate the approach, and then I'll talk about why it can be helpful, and maybe it's an approach that you might want to try in your own practice. So setting up for a side crow, I think it is really helpful to face the front edge of your yoga mat. When you do a vinyasa yoga practice, chaturanga, plank, you're doing it facing the front edge of your mat, so you can also orientate your hand balance in the same way. So to set up side crow, you'll step to the far edge of your mat, angle your knees in this side. I'm going to take my knees to the right, about 45 degrees, and then walk the hands out a little bit to the left. So the hands are kind of in a chaturanga plank position. So as I mentioned, this approach, it's going to use just one upper arm, or rather the body is resting on one upper arm. So your right elbow is going to rest anywhere on your left thigh. It's all going to be about the length of your arms, the length of your torso, your range of motion, so it's going to be very different for everybody. Once you have that elbow connection established, lift your hips a few inches. Think halfway lift in your torso, so head and heart move forward, and you'll just keep that trajectory moving forward into your fingertips. Squeeze the thigh bones together, lift your shins parallel to the floor. And really no need to move the legs in any position. The knees are just bent, the knees squeeze together. Resist from dropping the left shoulder, the outer shoulder away from the floor. Instead, use that hand to push the floor away, and you're actually working towards a relatively straight left arm. So with that, if you were resting weight on that other elbow, it's really hard to push away and try and straighten the arm. Also, when you're working a two elbow variation, you're limiting the rotation of your spine. You have to start from this very contracted, very rounded position to get the elbows down there. When you free up the spine to lengthen and you move the one elbow in, you're just going to get a little bit more space. And then last, shoulders. When you're abusing the two elbow or the two upper arm bone approach, the tendency is for the head of the shoulder to rotate down. And so I'll try and demonstrate it. In the two elbow approach, first you can see my spine is really, really restricted. And then as I tip forward, my left shoulder is in kind of a not super sustainable position. There's a lot of unnecessary pressure on the front part of the rotator cuff. So ideally, you're going to have some freedom there to draw the shoulder blade back, finding that halfway lift quality. That was a lot of information, but maybe you want to try it out. And again, for those of you that take my classes pretty regularly, this is just a nice way for me to show you without, taking 20 minutes in the middle of class to talk about this. Just working from a really refined, sustainable place. And if the two elbow version works for you, excellent, stick with it. And if you don't want to try something different, that's totally fine. There's a lot of things that I don't like to try when it's different in my practice. But give it a shot, try it on, and you might find that with time, it's going to feel a little uncomfortable if you've never tried it before, but you might find that it feels a little bit more sustainable and you might feel a little stronger with this one upper arm bone approach.